we have been talking about who? Yes, but who last? Who did we talk about last time? Isaac's son. Jacob. And what do we think about Jacob so far? Jacob has some issues. Jacob thinks that a woman is a prize. Jacob thinks he can fool his brother. Jacob has issues. Am I right? Okay. So Jacob now, let's remember, somehow he managed to get himself 4 wives. There are some problems here. He has 13 children, or at least he has 11 children, and then 2 more are born later on. And he has a job. He's taking care of the flocks of his father-in-law, right? So, his father-in-law says, so, you already have 2 of my daughters. I paid you that. Now what? Because his 14 years have passed. And Jacob says, well, how about you give me some of the livestock? And his father-in-law says, okay, how do we want to work this? And Jacob says, well, what if you give me all the ones with spots? Okay? And Laban says, okay, I don't think there are too many spotted, critters in my flock, so sure, that seems like a good deal for me. But Jacob's clever. He knows how flocks work. So he takes all the spotted rams and ewes, shuts them off together, and makes sure that they breed. So they have more offspring. So after a few seasons, there's a whole bunch of speckled and spotted critters in the herd. So Laban, his father-in-law, is getting fed up. And Joseph knows this, so he decides it's time to leave. So he talks to his wives, who are sisters. I guess they decided they could get along together well enough to talk to him about this. Right? And he says, we're leaving. Any concerns about that? They say, nope. Our father sold us to you, and, well, we're kind of mad at him, but we're kind of mad at you, but we're going to stick with you because our kids are with you. I'm paraphrasing. I'm assuming that there's more going on, that this isn't entirely dysfunctional, although, as we see, it can get pretty dysfunctional. So they leave. They pick up in the middle of the night, the 4 wives, all the kids, and all the sheep and goats, and so forth, and they start to travel. Now, they get away, and they're coming back into Canaan. Who do you think is going to come to meet them? Well, his brother. Who did he run away from, right? Who was going to kill him when he left? So his brother's going to come and meet him. Do you think he's excited about this, Jacob? Do you think he's maybe a little bit nervous when the messenger comes and says, so your brother Esau is coming and he has 400 armed men with him? Does that sound like a welcome party? All right. So, first of all, Jacob thinks about this. He thinks, what went wrong? I stole my brother's birthright, I stole his wealth, and clearly he has armed men following him, but what am I going to do? I know I'm going to send him gifts, lots and lots of gifts. I'm going to send people ahead with goats and sheep and cows, and we're going to give them to him and offer them to him just so that he knows I'm coming to make amends. So he does all this. He sends all of his wives, all of his children ahead of him to meet Esau, to try to placate him as much as possible. And he stays back on the other side of the river. And this is where things get interesting, because we learn a little bit about Jacob here. And Jacob was left alone, and there in that place, a man wrestled with him until the day broke. And when the man saw that he wasn't beating Jacob, he touched his leg, and his thigh came out of the socket as he was wrestling with this man. And the man said, "Let me go, for the day is coming." And Jacob said, "No, I won't let you go unless you give me a blessing. Does this seem like normal behavior? You usually stay up in the middle of the night and wrestle with a random man who shows up? That seems like peculiar behavior. And the man says to him, well, what's your name? And he says, Jacob. And he says, your name will not be Jacob anymore, but rather your name will be Israel. Because as a prince, you have power with God and with men, and you have prevailed. And Jacob asked him and said, well, tell me, what's your name? And he says, why is it that you want my name? And then he blessed him. And then Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, for he said, which means the face of God, because he says, I have seen God face to face, and my life is preserved. And then he went across the river, and his brother forgave him, and he went into the land, and everything was fine. But let's talk about this a little bit, because this is something about Jacob. Jacob, he makes lots and lots of mistakes. Yes? His life is kind of a whole series of mistakes, but what is the one thing that is at the root of it? What does he want? What did he take from his father when he pretended to be his brother? A blessing. What did he ask this man he's wrestling with for? A blessing. Jacob wants blessings. What did he cheat his father-in-law to get? More blessings. Blessings of wealth. Jacob is very much interested in getting the good stuff out of life. He's a little bit confused about what the good stuff is and how that works. But he wants good things, and he's willing to fight for it. Now, this isn't all good. There's a whole lot of bad in this. But God comes down and meets him as a man this night as he's giving up some of those blessings. He's giving gifts to his brother. He's trying to make amends. And Jacob wrestles with him. He's still fighting, still searching, still demanding. He wants that blessing. And God says, you really want a blessing. You're not only able to beat the people that you're around, but you're even able to beat me, because I let you, but beat me. So you are named Israel. And this is where, of course, the Israelites get their name, and all this is important. But the big deal, the thing to remember, Jacob wanted lots of blessings. What do you think ended up making him happy? Which blessing? The blessing that came from God. Did all of his wealth make him happy? Did all of his wives make him happy? Did all of his children make him happy? He kind of got more grief from them than anything else. Okay? What makes him happy, where he finds peace, is when him who has always learned to fight and push and strive and struggle and grab, when he's weak, when his leg is out of joint, when he's just holding on to God and clinging and saying, don't go without blessing me. That's when he's finally blessed. That's when his brother forgives him. That's when he kind of changes his life a little bit. And he still has problems, he still has struggles. But Jacob starts out trying to grab everything for himself. And after he loses everything, then he finds a blessing. This is a basic principle of the life in the church. If we try to save our life, we will lose it. Thank you. You've been listening the last 4 years. If we lose our life for the sake of the Lord and the kingdom of God, our life is given back to us. We find it again. This is how the Christian life works. Jacob figured this out the hard way. There is an easier way. I pray we all find the way to take it. So, stand up, take communion, have a blessed day.